Hi folks, welcome to Rfactor2 by Studio 397. Now, I've been wanting to make this video for about a week now because Rfactor2 has been getting some new updates, namely in terms of graphics. There's been an SSR update which is to do with the reflections and the way a track will reflect the environment in wet conditions. Also some general updates to lighting in different conditions. And I must say everything is looking really good. Sebring has had, this is the track we're at the moment, has had some updates. It's had the PBR shader updates as well. So I thought I'd set up a 15-minute race, take some GTEs around Sebring, and I'm going to show you, you're going to have my view from the cockpit, but also I'm going to put up the trackside cameras as well from the replay, so you can see the reflections build up. The wet tarmac looks so much like real wet tarmac. It's fantastic. I'm in the Corvette C8R as well, which I'm loving at the moment. When did I buy the endurance bundle? Sometime earlier this year. It's fantastic. I've been really enjoying this car in both Automobilista 2, which I've been spending a lot of time in recently, and Rfactor2. Just really enjoying this car, as well as the look of things. I'm also going to talk a little bit about that, why I've been spending so much time in Automobilista 2 and less these days in Rfactor2, which is a sim I used to spend all of my time in. So, I've got my wet tyres on, have I? Did I do that? Yes. So let's get out there and drive. We'll talk about some of the reasons I'm not spending all that much time in Rfactor2 anymore, but I'm looking to spend more time in. And some of the problems I've run into, some of the things that I'd forgotten about Rfactor2 that, you know, I'm now being reminded of now and spending more time in it. Now the track started out, it's raining, but the track's not saturated yet, so you will see those reflections as they build up. I don't need to talk too much about the way the track looks because you can see that for yourself. This video, the purpose of it is to talk about Rfactor2 a bit, but also to show you what things look like, so you can see for yourself. But like I said, it really does look fantastic. The wet tarmac looks so realistic, it's brilliant. I do like the graphical style of Rfactor2 on the Studio 397 tracks with the Studio 397 cars. You know, it's got its own style, like compared to something like Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's so much sharper around the edges. The lines are sharper. Did you see that stuttering of the AI car there? Sort of went like that a bit. That's a weird thing. But yeah, it looks fantastic. The only thing that I'd say about these new reflections is they do have a weird habit of there's a tiny. It's just noticeable, but it's not intrusive. But when the track gets wetter and wetter, the reflections do shimmer a bit. But apart from that, it just looks fantastic. I think they've done a really nice job. But coming back to some of the problems that driving in this again has reminded me of, that stuttering of the AI, so they're sort of going back and forth like that. That's a weird thing that has existed for a long while. But another thing that has existed for a long while, which I had a reminder of as soon as I tried to have a race. In fact, I get the reminder by the end of the first lap, is the AI in the wet. Not too good. Not that they don't drive okay in the wet. I mean, they slide around like crazy, way too much. But it's not that. They actually drive sort of okay. It's what's going to happen now. So we're coming around the last corner, and what we're going to see is literally half of the field. There we go. There you go. Half of the field are now pitting. I've got 30 cars on track. I guarantee you 15 of them have just gone in there, or 14 have just gone in there to pit for tyres. Now, we've started off, I've just set up a race session, so the sim knows, oh, crash there. Sim knows we're in the wet. You expect the AI drivers to know we're in the wet, so why are they pitting? Now, that's going to happen again on the second lap. What will happen, because I've been really watching this, I've let the simulation run and just watched the AI. What they will do on the second lap is the other half of the field will then pit. Then on the third lap, a handful of them will pit again. And that's one of the reasons I don't spend so much time in Rfactor2 now, especially when I want to go for a single player race. It's so much easier to just set up. If I haven't got a lot of time, you know, and I don't want to jump into a public server where I don't know who's in there, you know, I want to go for some single player action and a race, I'll just jump into ACC or Automobilista 2 because of these kind of issues. However, having said that, I did spend one of my days off last week. I had half the day I spent just swapping between driving the CAR at Spa in Automobilista 2 and then Rfactor 2, and then back to Automobilista 2 and then Rfactor 2, and I had a great time. But that was in the dry. That was in the dry, and also at Le Mans as well. I had a great time. Another thing with the AI, and don't worry, I'm not just going to moan here about the AI without coming to a point. There is a point that I'm coming to. I was going to do this with a field, or a mixed class of field. I've been loving that in Automobilista 2. I've been doing a lot of GTI racing with a field of DPIs as well, because it's doing multi-class racing really well. But with half the field pitting in this, the DPIs, now you can have multi-class racing in Rfactor 2. There used to be a point where the faster cars would lap the slower cars and then would just stay behind them and would not overtake. They do overtake okay now, but if they decide to pit on that lap, they will then do that thing where they stay behind the slower cars, and you know, and you'll go past them. You go past the GTE stuck behind you'll go past the DPI whilst you're driving a GTE, and it'll be stuck behind a GTE, and you'll overtake both of them. You know, because they're thinking about pitting. So that's sort of breaks the experience. So that's why I haven't included the DPIs in this race. Look at these reflections. They're really building up now. It looks fantastic. It really does. Really impressed with that. But you've got these problems with the AI. You know, you've got they still do the whole sort of on-off braking thing. They're either on the brakes or off them. And it's one of the reasons that I don't bother going, oh, look at the Aston Martin, they're having a slide. That's put me off of. Oh, I was watching him too much. Don't get me wrong, the AI is still good in this game, you know, when they're not having those kind of problems, you know. And looking through the forums, this is a long-standing problem, and you know, as soon as I recognised it, I remembered it from ages back when I was spending all of my time in this sim. But people are aware of it. In fact, people are sick of hearing about it because a lot of people have made threads and complained about it, but nothing's been done. However, I have a question for you guys. I'd like to know what you think about this in the comments below this video. Over the latter half of last year and the first half of this year, we've seen Studio 397 updating the game more and more. So for instance, one of the updates I was really happy about, and it resulted in me finally purchasing a track I'd wanted for ages but wouldn't do because of bad AI. They updated the AI to Circuit d'Azur, and I was so happy, so I bought the track and I wasn't disappointed. The AI were brilliant round there. But I was trying this with dry racing and single class, but they were fine around there. It used to be you couldn't get them around. We've had PBR updates to Lime Rock, Indianapolis, and also now Sebring, and we've just had this SSR update. The competition system is being continually updated, and oh god, I need to. It's stopped raining, so I've got my wipers on auto, so they've stopped, but I've got so much spray from the car in front. Oh, just turned my pit limit on by accident, meant to hit the wipers. So there we got the wipers on now. Anyway. The point is, we've also had the takeover from Motorsport Games, which I should think is giving Studio 397 a much needed cash injection, as I completely go off track. So I'm concentrating more on talking than I am driving at the moment. And puddles as well, we have puddles. Didn't used to have them in Rfactor2, we've got them now, that's brilliant. I'm wondering if the development curve, especially of a game like Automobilista 2, which I've made so many videos on recently, I'm wondering if the development curve of sims like that, also Kunos, they're continuously updating Assetto Corsa Composizione as well. I'm wondering if that's making Studio 397 up their game a bit, you know, especially with this Motorsport Games takeover. You know, I hope it is, because when they updated the AI for Circuit d'Azur, they did put in the notes that they thought that update would do for the moment until they hinted at the fact that they were in the future going to be releasing a global AI update. Now that would be awesome, especially for the single player crowd. Imagine if you had this global AI update which would solve the problems of the multi-class racing when going for pits, or the problems with the AI picking for tyres in wet weather. By the way, on the forum some people did say, saw some people saying that if you set up, rather than just a race session, if you set up a full weekend with practice and qualifying, then that problem doesn't occur. I've tried it every which way but loose. I've tried it with warm-up sessions as well. It happens every single time, so that doesn't solve it. But imagine that those problems were eliminated and the AI awareness was made better. Also the on-off braking thing was gone, and you had this fantastic driver. Because like I said, I've been spending a lot of time in Automobilista 2 recently, and when that first came out there were issues with it. I've supported that game from the get-go, as I have this sim. But this sim's been through a lot. It's been around a lot longer. I mean, a hell of a lot longer. But you know, they've gone through changes of developer from ISI to Studio 397. Now you've got the Motorsport Games. There's been so many changes, but it's been over a long period of time. And this issues like the issues I'm talking about with the AI have been persistent for years. I'm wondering if we're now going to see that development curve start to get steeper, because I mean, using AMS, I've gone off again. Do feel free to completely rip the hell out of my driving in the comments. Deservedly so, I'm driving terribly. But I mean, the development process of Riese Studios, I think this is why, you know, people get so excited about that sim. It's been so steep it might as well be a mountain. You know, it's just gone like that. And I'm thinking now that with all of the recent update, the development updates for Rfactor2 seem to be ramping up. And I'm wondering how soon it will be that we'll see an update to the AI. I'm wondering if we'll ever see an update where it'll be as easy to set up a online lobby, if it's just for public or for your mates, because obviously league racing in Rfactor2 is great, but you've got to be in a league, and I don't have time to do that at the moment. I used to race a lot with RCL. I don't even get to race with them anymore because of the nature of my job, the weird hours. I can never keep to a schedule, and with the jam that I'm running as well, a lot of the racing happens on Sunday, and of course I run my music jam on a Sunday, so I've got no time. So it would be so nice for me. I mean, I used to run servers, open servers in Rfactor2, but then when the old UI changed over, how you did that all changed. And you had to learn how to do it before. You've got to learn how to do it again now. There are files that need to be swapped around, you know. And especially for players who aren't comfortable with mucking about with program files. You know, it just makes things so difficult. It'd be so nice if I could phone up my mate Pete and get hold of a few people on Steam, like one of my mates from the river who turns out to be a massive sim racer as well, massively into it. If I could just get hold of them on Steam and go, hey, do you fancy a race? And with a few clicks of a button we could set up from inside the game, not through changing program files, and from inside the game just set up an online server and go have a race. It'd be great. The other thing I've noticed, coming back to Rfactor2, is that I'm pretty sure that you used to be able to set different conditions for each. If you did a full race weekend, you could set different conditions for each session. You know, dry practice, dry qualifying, and then make it scripted for the race, where it might start off dry and then rain, or make it rainy for the race if you like. Can't seem to do that anymore. If I change the race, if I change the weather for one session now with the new UI, it changes it for all of them to whatever I've changed it to. I could be wrong. There might be a function there that I'm missing that does allow you to do that, but I'm pretty sure it won't. If you do know how to do that, please tell me in the comments. But it will not work for me. The other thing with the new UI, one of the best things, and it was a discovery I made when I discovered this in this sim. I thought, that's fantastic. This should be in every sim. And that was that with the old UI, you could get to the track. You know, you've chosen your track, you've chosen your cars, and then you choose your AI difficulty level. If you found during the practice or qualifying session that you were just too fast for the AI or too slow for them, you could actually adjust without leaving the track. You could adjust the strength, and then you'd reset the weekend to restart the weekend without having to load the track, and it would reset the AI to that difficulty level. That's now in the new UI. That's gone, and that's a real shame, because I think that feature should be in every sim. I thought that was such a great feature. It should be in every sim. So there have been some improvements, by the way, in this last candidate release. Now when you go to set up a race, when you first open the game, it doesn't, when you go to set up a race, pause whilst it loads your favourite servers in your multiplayer. Because that was annoying to wait for that if you weren't even going on multiplayer. Doesn't do that now. That's a really good thing. The UI is a lot less clunky than it was as well. That's getting better. Look, my whole point here is this sim is so good. I mean, I go on about Automobilista 2 a lot, but the driving in Rfactor2 is still absolutely, it's my benchmark. You know, physics, force feedback wise, it's, you know, the feeling of weight transfer is still, in my opinion, it's just the best. Yeah, Automobilista 2 has come on so far, and it is really getting close to Rfactor2 now, but it's not there. It's not there. It still has better fidelity. But what I do love about Automobilista 2 is how it works as a whole package. There are still bugs in that need sorting out, but things that's only been out just over a year. There are bugs in this that have existed for so many years. But I've been with the development of Automobilista 2 since the get-go. I've been with the development of this game since the get-go. And I have, someone called me a massive optimist on one of my other videos about the development of Automobilista 2. And I just went, yeah I am. Because I've got faith. And even though it's quite long in the tooth now, I've got faith that Rfactor2 is going to start going that way. I'm hoping the development curve is going to accelerate. You know, particularly with this whole motorsport games. I mean, I think last year people were starting to worry that it may have slowed down to the point where it's going to be forgotten about. Well, blatantly it's not, because look, we've got new tracks coming out. We've got Monza on the way. We've had the last two Formula E tracks. This track's being updated. They've got a new car on the way as well for the competition system. So, race is over now. Blatantly, they're planning on sticking with this for a good long time, which is great news. But wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if the single player experience in this sim was improved? The way you get online was improved. If I want to go online, because I haven't got time for Elite, if I want to go online and do some serious league races, I'd be in Rfactor2 racing the boys at RCL. But like I said, I just don't have time for that sort of scheduled and planned on certain days, because I never know when I'm getting home these days, what time I'm going to be at home, and I'm usually knackered when I do. But if I want to go through a multiplayer race, just a quick one in a public server, I jump into ACC or Automobilista 2. There's always people online, and there's always a race to be had. More so in ACC than Automobilista 2. But in both of those, it's just so easy for me to do that. In Rfactor2, there's a bunch of public servers up there, a whole list of them with no players in them, and also half of them are using a load of mods. And that's another thing I don't like about the new UI. In the old UI, if you joined a server and it started downloading a mod, you could click it, you could stop it, you could say no, I don't want that, and cancel it. New UI, there's no cancel button, so unless you use Alt Tab Delete and literally stop the game task, it downloads all sorts of stuff that you don't want, or don't want to wait 15 minutes for it to download. But yeah, tell me what you think. Are you optimistic about the future development of Rfactor2? Have you lost hope? I've seen a lot of people saying that they've given up with it and are moving over to things like ACC or Automobilista 2, and I think that's a shame. Because like I said, the driving experience in this, it still has the fastest updated force feedback in terms of hertz of any of the sims. And look at this track and these reflections. It looks fantastic. It really does. Are you optimistic about the development of this sim? I mean, do you want to see it develop further, things improved, some of the bugs that have been around for years improved, or have you given up? Do you think there's no hope? I'm hoping that some of you will be leaning towards the more optimistic side. Maybe you won't. And feel free to agree or disagree with anything that I've said in the comments. But be nice. I've had some people not be very nice recently. It's been very upsetting. But yeah, what do you think? Anyway, what a beautiful track. What beautiful rain. Cheers.